So we're going to create a project, or you can do the option 2 if you already have a project. So to create a project, we just go to Unity Hub and uh, name your project. We're going to create a cloud project. We'll do it automatically for us. I'm going to call it Unity Services Tutorial and just press create project. The option 2 is right here, and that's linking it manually if you already have it created. So we're going to go to project settings. From here to the services section, and in the organization, select your organization. If you have signed into cloud, or you have created an account, then clearly it's going to come up here. I've got this right here. I'm just on 201021. That's my account. Anyways, you select yours, and then you can create a new cloud project here, and then press this button. Once you click on it, it's going to create a cloud project automatically for you. So if you refresh it here, you will see that it's all come up, and the name is the demo manual linking. That was just a new project I created for showing the option 2. Alright, we got the linking ID and everything's up here, so it has been correctly set up. So the next thing to do is to set up authentication. That's to install packages and things that are necessary to make it work. So we're going to go into services in our project, which is Unity Services Tutorial. Your project could be some other name. Just go here and add the Unity Player accounts identity provider from the player authentication service. And I'm going to call this your project can have its name, like if you have a game name, just put it there. And then just add it. Terms of service and privacy policy, you can do that later. Install the authentication package from the package manager under Unity registry. This is necessary to call the correct APIs. So, and you can also install the UI example just to get an idea of how it works. It has a few samples in there. Alright, we can open up the Unity Player Accounts UI example, and you can see it's a simple script. Inside it's not very simple, but it's just one script. In the projects, we're going to go back to our project, and I'm going to add a new environment so that we have two environments, one for production and one for development. In the settings, yeah, so there you go. We're going to actually have a player management set up as well, just by opening that up. As you can see, we've got the two environments set up. And here we can copy the client ID to set up player accounts. I'm going to open up a new scene. Sorry, change the sample scene's name, and that's it. In player accounts, paste your client ID if it doesn't come up automatically. Change the production in the environments to development. Next, we're going to create our user interface, demo user interface for this video. So the first thing we'll do is create a game object, which is going to be our authentication manager. We'll create a new canvas, authentication canvas. More of that, we need it to be overlay and vertical only, always. Change the mode to expand. I'm going to add a background, stretch it across the screen, and the color is going to be, yeah, so right there, quite nice, matching the editor a bit. So we're going to create a button and name that text to text. We're going to just put a text, make it auto size, no normal, and yeah, normal. And we'll just make the text better in terms of sizing and stretching. I'm going to change the button color. I will add an outline component and make that nice blue. Change the size of the outline, the color to it more bright. I'm going to change the text to total white, so that's how it looks now. And now we can make the button color transitions to work correctly. I'm done with all of that. Then we can change the disabled colors, and yeah, so we got the button. We create a prefab folder, a scripts folder, and inside the prefab we put the button in the BT layout so that we can lay out our buttons. We use the content size fitter with preferred size. This is an ISO component that you should use with stack loads. I've got these buttons set up. I'm just going to make them 4, and we're going to add these um, nice little names for them. Sign in with Unity and sign in with anonymously, sorry, and sign out button, delete button, clear session token. So we get all the buttons ready. I'm going all in front of the screen, change the spacing, and change the center and stuff. So that's pretty cool, right? And yeah, align it like that. And with the text for the authentication stuff, we're just gonna write authentication in the text, like title for this demo scene, authentication buttons. We'll give each of the buttons the correct text inside. So sign in with Unity and sign in anonymously, sign out, delete account, this is important, and the clear session token. This usually won't be in your app, I guess, but yeah, this is just to show that you can clear it too. We'll add another text which is going to have the information that our script will set to show more data on the screen, which you can use in real applications, in real games, as the external ID, signed in, everything else, all the data will be displayed here for this demo. So I'm going to put the text right there in the corner, change the sizing, this pivots. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, I'll just put right that. Yeah, I'll make it center. No, maybe I should just do it like that. Yeah, that's fine. I'll change it to no wrap, and as you can see, it goes a little bit like that. We'll change it back to wrapping, but just take it to the edge on that side. Okay. Now we can put text in here, but this is going to be done by our script in real time as we are signing in and playing around with it for the demo. So now we've got almost the whole authentication UI done. Yeah, I think it's finished. So let's create a new empty game object for the loading screen. This is going to be an error screen. There'll be a loading screen. So both of the screens are on top. They will show up. So we'll create a new UI canvas, loading screen canvas, change it to scale screen size and expand. An error screen canvas with the exact same settings. And we'll have a content inside both of them, just an empty game object stretched all around the corners, and a background inside of it. That's an overlay background which prevents them from clicking behind. So when you are loading something, you don't want them to click behind or any other buttons. Yeah, you don't want them to do such a thing. So for that, we just have this thing which will block the mouse clicks. Later on, we will also deselect the buttons behind, preventing from selection in the background. We'll just change the colors to darker. I've added a nice outline so it looks good. Now I'll give this some sizing, 200, 200 from all the corners. That's how it looks. We'll add a text that's right loading there. Position it. We'll create, we'll just add a new button in here. This button's for basically, do we need a button here? Yeah, so this is going to be our text button. I put it at the bottom there. So we are loading, and this button will have none. So we don't want this button to be navigating anywhere else so that they can't click any other button except for this one. Yeah, the error screen canvas will have a similar setup with an overlay background as well. And we need that to block them from doing anything before closing the error screen. Disable that content there, add a BG there. So that's the background for the actual window that opens up. And then just add an outline, the similar style. And yeah, it's looking good. Right. I'll add an error text. This is going to just write error with the correct positioning alignments. And another background for the actual error data or the information. This will be set by our scripts. So it's going to have the same outline. It's just going to be an inner box. Oh, it's a little bad. Yeah, there you go. The text which is going to be shown inside is going to be the error information action, the description. Consider the description. I'll put it there like that. And then just change the stretching and take it to the top. So this is where we're going to explain the error to our user. Cool. So yeah, I'll just make the height correct to fit nicely. Add another button here. This is the OK button. So once you see the error, you can have a button to close the window. Yeah, I'm gonna stretch this button right there, nice and fit. Harmless errors are just filling up the area right now, but they have no meaning really. We're going to make a few scripts now. The authentication manager. I'm going to create them inside the scripts folder. There you go. And then another one. This is the loading screen. And we'll just wait for it to compile. I created two quickly so that it doesn't compile and stop me. Unity will soon make this a background task, then all of these issues won't be faced by us. Error screen. Oh, that's a typo. Fix that too. Alright, so we got all the scripts ready. Yeah. Let's close that too. And yep, now it's time for the coding and the references, script setup, and stuff like that. So inside the authentication manager, we're going to have a header first, and we'll define the first button right here, the sign in with Unity button. We'll have like 5 buttons. All of them are going to be here. Sign in with, sign in anonymously button, sign out button, and we have delete account button. We have also a clear session token button. That's it. Now we can add a new text section. In here we are going to do tmpro.tmp text as the information text. We just use tmpro up there. And we'll define a private bool if we are waiting for sign in. This is for the player accounts to not get stuck at all. Otherwise they might need, have issues. I'll explain that later. But just follow me for now. We need a few actions. So the first one is private action string show error action. I'm doing this because we want to do clean code and we don't want to do repetitive stuff. So try catch won't be done multiple times by us on the authentication. So we'll define an action for cancel Unity player accounts action. This one is a function and it has a task type. It's a delete func, whatever way you want to call it. We have the initialize services, the sign in anonymously. Another one for the start sign in. Yeah, the Unity sign in. It's going to be started. And you have a sign in with Unity actual. Alright, so we got all of those done. We'll make this async, the start function, and we're going to await startup. So it's going to be like an entry point, and then we will register the events of the buttons. On destroy, we just deregister them. Now we are going to define the startup function. Here we are going to create actions and stuff like that. We need a register events and a deregister events. This is going to manage the events that we listen to, and then we're going to remove listening or stop listening to prevent errors and memory issues. Authentication service .insta.expired. We're going to listen and signed in from the player account service. These two new functions we're going to define later on. Signed out as well. We need to just listen to that. Sign in failed, not the signed out one. So you can check this. I mean, you need to use signed out maybe for yourself. There's a lot of stuff, and it's quite easy to use this thing. I like the way Unity has set it up. So now for all of these buttons, we're going to make on-click events. So on-click sign in with Unity, on-click sign in anonymously, and on-click sign out, and then on-click delete account, on-click clear session token. There you go, all the 5 buttons are there. Same for deregister, just going to make that minus, and for the add listeners, replace with remove listeners. On startup, the startup function, we want to set up all the actions. That's the step 1. In the loading screen, we need to show the loading screen. We're going to show loading screen with true, and init service is the text. We'll check if bool success, and we'll await the authentication task. This is like a utility for the authentication service, and it can be used with lobby service. You can create your own automatically, like just copy it and make one with the correct error codes. You'll see that later. So we just run it with the correct actions on both. Then we'll just put a few if statements and show the loading screen again, update it with true again as enabled, and await the authentication task. Hide the loading screen after this and update the UI. Setup actions function, we need to in the cancel Unity player account section, make sure to make that false so that the state changes, and hide the loading screen so it doesn't show the loading screen anymore. In the delete function, this is a bit harder to define. As you can see, equal to async and then the lambda expression. Inside that, we do the authentication service.instance.delete account async. On-click sign out, and we just sign that out so that we actually don't delete without signing out. Otherwise, it could be an error. Initialize services. We initialize these services async. This is going to be done over time again. Just to keep the debug.logs for information. Sign in anonymously is going to be this is going to use sign in anonymously async, and debug.log will tell us if it is done. So if we go through this, it's not going to break with the player ID. Then the sign in with Unity again, and start sign in. Start Unity sign in. We're going to pass player account service.instance of start sign in async. And here we have the last one. Just sign in with Unity async player account services dot access token. We must pass that in with signing in with Unity. We need an access token from player account service. All right. There you go. We are giving the player ID whenever we sign in. Now we create a function for listening to on token expired. In here, you might want to like tell the user in some way. So I mean, you need to sign out because you don't no longer have the token. It's expired. The session token has expired. So you either make them sign in again, so they cannot use the services unless they sign in again. You're going to make them sign in. This will only expire if Unity fails to refresh it, and that will happen only when you have a internet issue or something like that. Maybe Unity's down or something. Otherwise, it will always refresh on its own timely basis, and it won't break. But if it does, this is the event to listen to. Anyways, that's for completeness. On player account signed in, we'll check if we are waiting for the sign in so that the event is not called in the wrong times. Yeah, so you'll have an option to even manually cancel it. We'll then await authentication task, and we're going to run the sign in with Unity action with show error action. We're going to update the UI and loading screen. We're going to hide that. We'll check if the sign in failed. I mean, use the callback, and we'll take in a request fail exception. That's what it gives us. We'll show the error screen, and we're going to pass in from the error handler, which we'll create later on, and get the error message passing in the exception with an OK button. We'll have a services initialized function which returns true when we are initialized and false if we are still not initialized. We're going to make a on-click sign in with Unity button callback, and right here it's going to enable. So it's going to say yes, we are waiting for signing in. We'll show the signing in the loading screen. So when we show it, we're going to pass true signing in, cancel, and cancel Unity player accounts action. This is required because when you press the cancel, it's going to fire that action. We're going to do a success check on the authentication task, and we'll check if we failed or not. And if we did fail, then we'll simply turn it off. So we stop listening for it, and we'll close the handy screen, the loading screen. We'll check if the button on click sign in anonymously event is called, and we will make sure not to just do it when the services are not initialized. And then we're going to show the loading screen and run the authentication task. We'll update the UI and hide the loading screen. Once we're done with this, same if statement at the top of all the buttons, call buttons events. So if we are signed in the authentication service, we sign out of that. If we are signed in the player account service, we sign out of that as well. We'll then update the UI. The next thing is to check on the on-click delete button. This will only delete, by the way, the delete account only deletes the account but not the related data. And in iOS, you are required to do such a thing if you take the accounts. The associated data and the account should have an option to delete by the user. So make sure to do that. Anyways, show and hide after and between them, we have the await authentication task, and we are going to run the delete account function. Yeah, the pre-made func type thing. The show error action. We'll define an on-click clear session token. We'll check if the authentication services has a session token already existing locally. This is saved in the player prefs, by the way, and we'll check if we are not signed in already, and then we'll clear the session token if so. I'm just going to make that a bit better by adding a bit of a UI TT like that. It's the text. We're gonna do a new string builder, and we'll use the string builder to append a few lines in here. The first one is the player account state. I'll use this curly brackets with the normal brackets so that I can do a check it for the signed state and put the correct text in there. And then we'll append another line here. Player account access token, and this is going to be bold. We're going to check if it's null or empty access token, and we can put in missing or exists as the two things, the two statement results. Another line for the authentication service state. This will be bold as well. This is called HTML tags, and they run well with TextMesh Pro. We'll check again if we're signed in and use that to give the correct text inside. We'll check if we are signed in manually again, but using an if statement so that we can do more code here. So we're going to get the external IDs by the formatting function we're going to create in a while. And that's going to be authentication service.instance.playerinfo. It's going to take that and get us back the IDs. Then we will check if the session token exists and show that if exists and if it's missing. Append a new line. Yeah, I mistyped that one there. We need the player ID on the top, the session token after that. Player ID is the instance.player ID, and that's enough. Append line, linked external ID. So this is going to tell us if you're signed in anonymously or via some other system. So passing that in, you can use this and you can like check if you have a Unity written in there. You'll see that soon in the visuals, in the UI when we test the demo. So just set the text to the sb.toString so we get the string from it. We're going to have the bool sign in auth, and this is going to be authentication service.instant.signed-in, and we'll replace that like that. If we are signed in, then just put that. So we're just going to control the interactable things like that so that we don't press the wrong buttons at the wrong time. The button is only activated if you're signed in. Clear session token is only activated if you're not signed in, and the session token does exist. You don't want to be clear in the session token when it does not exist already. Alright, so we got a few errors. We're going to put that at the top because we've been using this state before. So we're going to replace that like that and the sign in again like that. Alright, cool. That's the update UI function. Now we need a format external IDs function. So this is going to get the external linked providers like player accounts, which is actually Unity. So it will give us Unity in the visuals when we see it. If the identities are null, we just return null, none, because this means we're anonymously signed in. I think that's what we'll get. I've never tried it yet, but hopefully that's what we're gonna get, if it is like that. So is the formatting done? We just append it like that for each. Now we're gonna create the static class for authentication error handler, and inside that we need like public static string get the error message, and this takes in an exception. So it takes an authentication exception. We need two of them. One for the authentication exception, or we also need a format error message. So this one's going to basically format the error message, like it will take in the raw text, and if there are any like underscores, it will fix it by spacing them like that, you know. Yeah. So we'll do format the error message ex.message. I'm not sure if we even need this though, but last time I checked it was giving underscore messages. So just to fix that, I did this. We can also show the error code so that if they want to contact us and tell us, they will know the code and they can tell us and we can check it. So they will send the error with code and ex.error code. Now we'll set the message that will return like this with a new line after sending the message, and then a new line error code, ex.error code. And now in a new like a overloading function with the request failed ex as a duplicate. But this one will have different way of telling us because it uses the different exception types. So that one's going to tell us authentication failed with error. This one's going to say request failed with error. The next thing is to now start checking. So the request failed exception, I know that Unity wants us to compare the error code with common error codes dot unknown and common error code to transport. Like there are many you can do, and I'm gonna hopefully cover as many as I can. So we're gonna compare it if it is timeouts, set the message to this. Yeah, we try. If we have a service unavailable, service is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later. Then we have the common error code.api missing. Now this is a very rare error. I don't think this will ever occur. Requested feature is currently unavailable. And then we have the common error code dot request rejected. So this is your request was rejected. Please try again or contact support. Common error codes dot too many requests. This is meaning that you're doing too fast and you need to slow down with your requests. Do it quickly. Please slow down. Then we can have an invalid token or an invalid, sorry, token expired. They both have the same meaning. Your session has expired. That's what it really means. Please sign in again. And if the error code says it's forbidden, you don't have permission to perform this action. This means that you are trying to do something which is not of your level and not found. Request item we couldn't find what you were looking for. And finally, the invalid request. So invalid request, please check your input. Alright, so that's all of the common error code one. We'll make an authentication task class, which is going to be our real useful class where we perform and listen to errors. And with the try catch is just going to be in here, nowhere else. So this is the first try, and we're going to await the task that's given to us in func, and we catch an authentication exception, or we can also catch a request failed exception. And we're going to invoke on error like this by putting in the brackets, passing in the authentication error handler.error method. I'll just pass in the errors exception. Await the task and return true if we succeed, meaning we crossed it. There's something wrong with this. Yeah, we need to add the brackets, so I didn't add them. So in the to-do area, we are left to do in the show error action. ensure to show the error actually, the screen. So error screen and loading screens are going to be singletons, and they will be accessed from anywhere. So we'll define the variables for error screen first, the OK button, the error text, and the OK button text again. And the game object for the content, the static error screen, which is going to be the instance accessed by everyone. We'll check if it's null, and if it is not null, then we need to destroy this one so that we don't have a fight. We'll ensure that we have this instance set up if it's null, and we'll hide the internal using the internal function given to us, and we'll don't destroy unload this object, so it's persists across scenes. On start, we're gonna check for listen to a button, and we'll add listen on click OK button. We'll again use the hide internal function. On destroy, we're gonna remove the listener, and we're gonna create a function for showing, and we'll simply check if it does exist the instance, we show internal. Similarly, we have a public void show internal with the same exact stuff, and a private void hide internal set active false. Just disable it, and show internal does enabling and sets the text as well to the error text, and the OK button text to the OK button text. Similarly, we need to use Unity engine.event systems, and from the event systems at current we can set selected game object to null, and then set one of the buttons to, so that, like, I'm just going to use OK button.select. That's much easier. We don't even need to use that namespace then. Okay, now we need to define the loading screen. So we'll have a text message pro text, the loading text, a button object, another text for the button text, and a game object for the content, the instance, and one more thing, an action for cancelling. We'll equal this to the action given to us from the authentication manager. So we'll just copy the awake function in there like this for the singleton and stuff, and we'll get component from the button object and simply listen to it. We'll try to get it, but we know that's gonna work because we already know we're gonna add that. Anyways, we'll still try it to be a much safe code. And on the BTB, just listen like that, add listener on click button. Then we have on click button on destroy. Inside on destroy, if we do get it, we remove the listener. And the on click button, we set the cancel button, cancel action. If we do have it, it's not null on cancel, then we invoke it. I'll rename that like that. If the static void show, it bool set text, and that's set to false by default, and string text, which is by default nothing, and bool enable, which is false. The button is enabled, which is false. The string text button is equal to nothing, and the action on button, which is going to be the button clicked thingy, the action which is triggered. So we're going to show internal with the exact same arguments and values. We'll have a hide, which is used as static. We'll call the instance hide internal, show internal, the same arguments again, and the hide internal again. So now we can set active true on show internal and set active true on the button object, but using the enabled button option. And if we want to set the text, we'll simply set the text like this. And on the buttons text, we'll set the text to the text button. It's null, so we're just going to fix this by using tmpro. Now we can access it and set the text to text bt, and the cancel action, assign it to the one given to us. I'll rename that one to on bt because it's not necessarily a cancel button. We are going to be using event systems in this C# class to set the selected object null and then to our button object. So if it's enabled our button to use it, then we set it to button object, but by default we set it to null. In the hide internal, we just set it to false, so we'll disable the content. We're still getting error here. We just need to pass a boolean before the text, which is going to be true because we're going to show the button. There you go. And now we can save the class and come over here. As you can see, we have not added any scripts yet. We're going to add them like that. So authentication manager, and I'm going to pass all the correct references, information text, and then loading screen. We also need to pass a few references in here. Loading text, the content, button object, and the text for the button object. And we need the error screen script here. The OK button first. We need the error text. Sorry, yeah, the error text, the OK button text, and the content. Now that's set up. Okay, save your project, and we are ready to start testing our stuff. So this is like a demo scene, and now we're going to be pressing the play button, and we'll see how it works. Once it's done loading everything, as you can see, we start by trying to sign in, and we have an error code. The session token is not valid. Okay, so it did try to sign in, but it failed because I deleted the account from the portal already. I mean, I've tested this before. So now we can sign in with Unity again. And if I cancel this thing, it will work. It will cancel the operation. But I'm not going to do that for now. I'm just going to continue with Google and pass in my account. And there you go. So it's going to take a while. And once the callback is sent, it's, as you can see, it shows the external providers. It shows everything. All the information is there. Now we can either delete the account or we can sign out. If you sign out, you can sign anonymously, because that's going to be like automatic. It's going to use the session token stored on your disk. So like sign out, sign in can be done quickly without having to do that again and again. And that's why on the start of the application it tries to do it. But if you clear session, then it creates a new anonymous player. If you call sign in anonymously without the session token, it creates a new one then. I'll sign in with Google again with my own account. And it will give me the same ID again, because the same player did exist there unless we delete it. So if I delete this player now, it's basically gone. That ID will not exist again. It's going to be a new ID, new player, and everything when I create another account now. Anyways, so that's how it works, and everything seems to be working well. So to finish the video, I'm just going to end by first adding a few editor ifs so that we don't have debug.log slowing our true code. Although this is also not perfectly done, I know this is just for the tutorial and examples. The project is also going to be available on GitHub. But anyways, I'm just going to show you what you need to do with the debug.logs. And this should be done with all of your debug.logs unless you want to see them, which you will need to do manually for real-time consoles. But anyways, the Unity editor if can be added and wrap around the debug.logs to prevent our application from slowly running in real time. So debug.log actually slows down your code, and you should do such a thing to prevent that. So that's it. The link for the project is in the description, and I will be adding stuff to it, updating it as we make more tutorials. So subscribe, like, and join Discord. Be sure to support me through Patreon if you can. So see you in the next video then.